Hey guys, how's it going? Zoltan here, and thanks a lot for joining us here at Zoltan's Bass Lounge. It's always a pleasure to have you guys, and I'm really hoping that all the lessons that we've put on so far are actually making you a better player, so you can really feel the difference in your playing by watching these lessons, following them, and doing all the playing yourself. Okay, now continuing with our scales, with our major scales here, we're gonna learn our E major scale today. Okay, and before we say anything about this scale, I just want to mention the fact that the E major scale is played on the E string here and on the A string, the way we're going to do it. And because these are two very thick or thickest strings, I think it will need a little bit more attention than, well, maybe not a lot more attention, but just a slight bit more attention than maybe some other scales that we'll play on higher strings. And this attention I refer to is really a physical attention. Okay, so what I want you to do is practice this scale just a little bit at a time, just in sections, and take breaks, because it does get actually, especially in the in the beginning stages, it does get really hard on your fingers to play these big thick strings and play this huge instrument here. Okay, so it's really important that you take breaks. Allow your fingers to have a rest before you would injure yourself or feel uncomfortable. Okay, so that's very important. And now let's get onto the major scale structure and figure out what the notes are in E major. Okay, so we'll start on E, and from that E we'll carry on for two whole notes. So from an E to F sharp, the F sharp to a G, from the F sharp to a G sharp. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. So let me just start it again actually. So we'll start on the E, from that E to an F sharp, from that F sharp to a G sharp, and then now we have a half note between the G sharp and the open A string or A natural note. And then from that A we'll play a C sharp. From that C sharp there will be a D sharp, and then again we'll round up the scale to the E natural notes, to the higher octave E. Okay, so that is our E major scale. And let's just see how many sharps have we got here. We've got an F sharp, we've got a C sharp, we've got a G sharp, and we've also got a D sharp. So we've got four sharps in this scale. So the E major tonality is a 4-sharp tonality. Okay, now then let's play it. And again, as much as it is maybe difficult to play physically on the thicker strings, we do have a little advantage here because we've already practiced our D and A major scales, and technically speaking, basically with your finger pattern, it will be the same exact motion, same exact finger patterns that we've done before for A and D. Okay, so this time we're starting on our low E string here. Again, the first thing we're going to have to do, we'll just look for that F sharp. Okay, so from that E, I'm going to play a low F here quickly and just move that up to an F sharp. And at that point, I should hear a low E to an F sharp, a whole note, interval. Okay, so make sure that you look for that at home and you hear that low whole note interval there. Okay, so let's start the scale. We'll start with the open E. Keeping our hand here in first position here, we'll play the F sharp with our first finger. The G sharp will land on our fourth finger here, if our positioning is correct. Okay. And now from there we'll play an open A, keeping our hand exactly in the same position again, and then play that B natural with our first finger. Then the C sharp will land on our fourth, or the fourth finger will land on the C sharp, vice versa, right? And now we'll have that nice whole tone shift that we've done before on the other string. So from that C sharp, from our fourth finger, we'll have to start to move up with our hand and eventually take our third and fourth finger off the fingerboard, off the string, and slide the second finger up to that D sharp. Yeah? Okay? And then just finish the scale with the E note here with our fourth finger. Remember, everything is down. So your fourth finger, your third, your second and first finger, are all placed on the strings to give that little finger some real good support there. Okay. Let's check with our harmonic. Yeah, that's right. And with your open string. That's right. That is your E major scale ascending. Okay, so let's take this scale back now. So let's descend down from the octave E here, we've got a D sharp with our second finger. Again, the difference between, or the distance between the seventh and the root note here is quite small. We spoke about that before, because of the harmonic relationship between these two notes, which is basically a 5-to-1 chord progression here. That a D sharp would be the third of the 5 chord, and of course the E would be, or the E is the root note of the tonality. So there is a real close connection between these two notes. So make sure that your intonation accommodates this very small step between the seventh and the root. Okay, and we'll just come down with that D sharp, move our second finger down as long as we have to, so we can then grab the C sharp with our fourth finger. Remember, we've done the same shift already on other strings. So from the D sharp, just moving back and then grabbing that C sharp with your fourth finger. Okay, and then here all we have to do now is just play the B natural with your first finger. Keep your hand in first position at this point. Open A, the G sharp with your fourth finger, and the F sharp with your first finger there, and your open E. And that is your E major scale, ascending and descending up and down. Okay, now again, like we always do, let's make sure that our notes are right. So let's just check the intonation with open strings. The F and G sharp will be good to compare against your open A, and then the B will be, actually everything else will be quite alright to compare against the open E string here. So the B to E, C sharp to E, D sharp to E, and E to E. And then you can check that E with the harmonic as well. So if you've got that harmonic note there, then you're fine. And back. Okay. And again, call your notes out. There's a considerable amount of notes that we actually have to play now on the A string here, which we haven't really done before. So that's a really good one to start to learn some notes up there. So from the B to C sharp, D sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. All very good to learn, all very, very good knowledge to have. Okay. And again, pay particular attention to the shift, to that one shift that we have in this scale. So from that C sharp with your fourth finger to the D sharp with your second finger, and back. D sharp with your second finger down to the C sharp with your fourth finger. Yeah? Like that. Okay. And also, now that we come to a point where we actually played through a few scales here, I think we need to start to play these scales by themselves. So it's the first thing that we have to do, is that we always play against open strings to make sure that our intonation is right. But once you start to get really comfortable with the scale, the physical requirements of that scale, I think that's the point where you really need to start to actually play that scale without any help anymore, any help at all. So no more comparison to any open strings. You will have the major scale sound in your ears, so trust your ears as well, and start to practice this scale without any open strings. Maybe just check the last note that you actually arrived to the right place. Yeah? And start to do this with the other scales as well. You know, as you get more and more comfortable with them, just start to play the scale itself. Okay, that's the next step, really, in our development. Okay, now because it's such a low sounding scale and it's such low strings that we play on, I really want you to play the scale in sections. So, for example, just play the E string section from the E to the F sharp and to the G sharp, and back from the G sharp to the F sharp to the E. And just play that much. And just practice them. Make sure that your fingers are fine, they're on the right place, your positioning is right, and that you're getting used to playing these low notes here, okay, for your sound production as well. Okay, and then move on to the next string, to the A, B to C sharp, and then play the shift from the C sharp to D sharp to the E, Yeah? So just play it in sections like that, practice it in sections like that, and then put them together into one whole scale. Yeah? Okay. That's a very important thing, and also because it's such low strings, like I said before. Now I'm just repeating myself, but make sure that you take breaks. You know, maybe just play 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can do, without really starting to hurt your fingers. Let those calluses to start to build up. The way to do that is just play a little bit at a time, but play regularly. So maybe play 5 minutes, take a little break, play another 5 minutes, and maybe practice for an hour like that, you know, and the next day do the same. And you know what, soon enough you'll start to have some real good calluses on your fingers, and the more you've got that happening for you, the easier it gets to play. Okay, so that's really important to keep in mind. So just play for a little while and take breaks, especially on lower strings like these. This gets physically, this gets a little bit more demanding than up the G string and the D string up here. Okay, and just one more thing before we go is that of course this is one way to play the scale. We could have actually just come up to this D sharp here and continued to the C sharp here and continued up to the D sharp here. Yeah, just took that nice little whole half note shift back and continue to the next string and play the next note and play the E, and we could have played this scale out no problem without much difficulty like that. The reason why I wanted you to practice this scale up to the third position here is that because I want you to start to really work on your range and really learn your range and learn your positionings and learn the distances that you have to travel between notes with your hand and with your arm in the same time. Okay, so that's very important. All this other stuff will come into play very, very soon, and we'll be able to play different things different ways, which is always, we already spoke about that. That's a great attribute to our physical and technical learning here, that we'll have different ways to play the same things. But right now I'm really stressing that you need to come up to your third position here, so you learn your positioning and you learn your range. Okay, so that's very important. Yeah, cool. Now that's the E major scale. You know the notes, the sharps, you know what it takes to play it, you know all the aspects of it. So we'll stop here, and we've got one more scale. We've got our E flat major scale to learn now, and then we'll be finished with all of our with all of our 12 major scales here, which is a considerable amount of knowledge to have. And to be honest with you, you can actually, when you start to be able to play around these scales and start to use them, you can start to play in a little band, and you can start to actually just try yourself out as a bass player, you know, on kind of this maybe not a professional level, but on a very enjoyable level already. Okay, all right, you guys, so I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time in E flat major.